Ancient Christians were nothing like modern Christians, and the difference might change how you see Christianity entirely. So Gnosticism is a term that surfaces again and again in discussions of ancient spirituality, mysticism, and esoteric thought. Yet, despite its frequent appearance, few truly grasp what it actually means, or who these so-called Gnostics really were. Far from being a single unified group, the Gnostics represent a diverse and elusive tradition that challenged the religious norms of their time. They spoke in riddles, they wove myth and philosophy together, and claimed to possess secret knowledge about the nature of reality, the soul, and the divine. To understand Gnosticism is to peel back the layers of history and uncover a worldview that defied orthodoxy and invited its followers to awaken to a hidden truth of what it truly means to exist. Gnostics were never a separate group or religions. They were Christians, and they would have been different Christian groups because there was no church, no orthodox, no central government system controlling what or which part of the Gospels to listen or worship. The term Gnostic is, in many ways, a modern invention, used by scholars to categorize a set of early Christian thinkers whose beliefs diverged sharply from what would later become the Orthodox doctrine. But in their own time, these individuals wouldn't have seen themselves as outsiders or heretics. They believed they were the true followers of Christ, keepers of a deeper hidden wisdom passed down through spiritual revelation. To them, there was no need for a separate label. They were simply Christians, as any group, and seeking to uncover the divine spark within, to reclaim a forgotten understanding of reality. Christianity at the same time was an emerging belief system. No rules, no priests, just understanding Jesus and what his mission was, his life, and his purpose on earth. At the heart of these Christian sects was a single powerful idea, gnosis, the Greek word meaning knowledge and wisdom, but it's not the kind found in books or sermons. This was spiritual knowledge, an inner revelation, a deep intuitive understanding of the divine, and quite frankly, the purpose of gnosis was, and the purpose, you could say, for all people who follow spirituality, is a spiritual experience, some sort of experience that connects you, some sort of experience that connects you with God, or the divine, or source, whatever you feel called upon to believe in. And so, for these communities, faith wasn't about blind obedience or ritual alone. It was about transformation. They believed the teachings of Jesus pointed the way to a direct, personal experience with God, the kingdom of heaven. To them, salvation came not through belief, but through awakening, and an inner journey guided by wisdom rather than dogma. In many ways, early Christianity was omnist, that is to say, open to truths from many traditions. Christianity at this time, around 100 AD, was very young for a belief system and was not strict whatsoever with beliefs and incorporated multiple faiths into itself. So many Gnostic writings reveal a deep and symbolic merging of older traditions in their spiritual worldview. For example, in Greek mythology, which was once the domain of epic poetry like the Iliad, is used in certain codices or books in Gnostic literature. One being Exegesis of the Soul, where the Iliad is quite literally quoted and seen through a spiritual lens rather than a literal interpretation of Odysseus and his voyage. There are other concepts such as pistis sophia, which is completely Greek, and it's translated from ancient Greek, it's faithful wisdom. And so this embodiment of Greek philosophical thought, and quite frankly other religions that would have been known to the time, start to merge into Christianity. And this is why I make the argument of it's omnist, because it's this merging of multiple faiths and thoughts and philosophies. In the Apocryphon of John, also known as the Secret Book of John, you see this with Zoroastrianism, the ancient Persian religion from the Far East, where at one point in the book, it states that if you'd like to know more about the angels and demons that helped create the first human body, you can look for the information within the Book of Zoroaster. Now, the idea behind angels and demons are less about some physical entity, and it's more about the symbolic meaning of it. Physicality, unlike today, physicality is not something grounded within the mind of these Gnostic groups. It's not put on a pedestal like we do today. Physicality is put to the wayside, and what matters more is the symbolic meaning or the connection with that said angel or demon. What emotion are they connected to? What idea are they connected to? And so, as you can see, it becomes entirely subjective. And because it's such a subjective view, you can't take it word for word. Like, you can't take it literally. You have to take it symbolically. You have to take it intuitively. And so if we allow our intuition to guide our reading of these texts, we begin to see the vision of spirituality that transcends dogma or doctrine. It's one rooted in direct experience, symbolic truth, and the inner struggle for divine understanding. So, omnism is the belief that all religions, at their core, point toward God in the same way. The word religion itself comes from the Latin religio, which many scholars trace back to religare, meaning to bind or to reconnect. In that light, the purpose of religion is not to divide with different peoples or cultures or faiths, but to return or to reconnect with God in this instance. And so through this lens, the world's spiritual traditions, no matter how different on the surface, are essentially the same at the core root, which is a reconnection with the divine self, the deepest part of ourselves. Sadly, many of these early Christians would soon disappear. As the Orthodox Church began to form, it sought to control how Scripture was interpreted. To do this, it labeled alternative beliefs as heresies. And so, these Gnostic groups that did not connect Scripture with a material sense, but rather a way to reconnect with God, were persecuted for their strange beliefs. So these Gnostics were not merely forgotten, but they were hunted, silenced, and nearly erased from history. Branded as heretics, many were killed, and their writings were destroyed or hidden away. Yet their ideas didn't vanish. Instead, they went underground, resurfacing in later esoteric traditions like alchemy, Freemasonry even, and the Rosicrucian movement. These secretive societies preserved the spirit of Gnostic thought, the pursuit of hidden wisdom, the belief in inner transformation, and the conviction that truth must often be veiled to survive. In 1943, near the Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi, there was something unearthed, an ancient library that was buried in the desert. Inside, there were texts lost for nearly 2,000 years. Alternative gospels and mystical writings deliberately excluded from the official Christian canon. These manuscripts represent some of the most profound surviving records of Gnostic philosophy. And what they reveal is quite honestly astonishing. To truly understand the roots of Christianity and Christianity as a whole, you need to first understand who these Gnostics were, whether you believe them or you believe in the modern church, what they believed in, and why their vision of spirituality was so dangerous to the powers of their time. At the end of the day, we are interpreters of the truth. All of us. We're not the source, and so we get a lot of things wrong due to our human nature. And to be honest, I believe the Bible has been deeply misunderstood for over 1,500 years. Not just due to language barriers, but because we've lost the ancient cultural lens and spiritual mindset that once brought its words to life. We constantly change laws, beliefs of what is right and wrong, good or bad, and these Gospels, the four main ones, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, plus the epistles of Paul, book of Revelation, in order to truly understand and appreciate and love the work that Jesus came and did. It is important to understand the culture of the time, Greek thought, and the view and understanding of what spirituality actually means, which I believe is largely lost in our Western society, but can be renewed like the phoenix. And so with that said, it is extremely important to understand the viewpoint of the Christians who were the closest to the times of Jesus. Of the sects, there are many, so we will be talking about two sects in particular: the Sethians and the Valentinians. If you made it this far, thank you. I invite you to join me on this journey to rediscover the deep spiritual truths hidden in the roots of Christianity. Again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.